Welcome, everybody. My name is Gary Carpenter, and I'm host of today's interactive session, sponsored by Helping Hearts at Home, the leading companion care agency in Long Island. This is one of many videos that we've done over the year. We've done 10 of them, of which anybody who's watching this can get to our video library and see all 10 videos. Joining us here today, this morning, Linda Ventura. Linda is the founder of the Thomas Hope Foundation and also was a first-time videographer with us on a show. Joining us also is Tony Morrone. Tony Morrone's a noted author, as well as the founder of the WIN Foundation, which we're going to hear about, and Kelly Lanson, the CEO and founder of Helping Hearts at Home. What I'd like to do is start the session by turning to you, Linda, and say, can you talk a little bit about the Hope Foundation, Thomas Hope Foundation?
Thomas's Hope Foundation is in honor of my son, Thomas, who died on March 14, 2012, to an overdose, specifically a heroin overdose. He was 21 years old and was always held from treatment through the course of trying to get him help. He always had to fail at something in order to move on, and it never seemed that he ever got to move on easily. So after experiencing the chaos of being a family that lives through substance use disorder, I couldn't be quiet about what was going on in society because we have lost and continue to lose a generation of young people to this insidious disease. My son never woke up one day and said, I think I'll be a heroin addict and kill myself. He was scouted in the 9th grade to play Division I lacrosse. He was a good student. He was the middle of my 3 children. And unfortunately, in my family, we had all 3 grandparents die within a period of 3 years. And his dad and I divorced, and that is a lot of trauma that he was not capable of speaking about with a therapist. But he found a coping mechanism not to feel pain at that point in time. When everyone packed their kids up to go to college, I packed Thomas up for his first rehab at Seafield. It was always... it's been quite a journey. Everybody, unfortunately, our story is not unique in what families go through. I did recognize, though, that my older daughter and my younger son had voices that I would never let go unheard because they were entitled to have their mom present in their life, too. It couldn't always be the one child that was spinning out of control. And it being a single mom and earning a living and taking care of all those things, pretty crazy times. After his death, founded Thomas's Hope Foundation in order to provide treatment for people that really wanted to go that were being held back from insurance purposes. And then started to really do advocacy work in New York State. So changed a lot of laws in 2014 and 2016. And people should note that during an election year, politicians are very apt to make changes. Not on the off years, though. So also brought them a business plan with what I wanted to do with Thomas's Hope. We are the largest, really peer-run organization on Long Island. We connect people to treatment within 24 hours. We'll even drive them there if we need to. We will provide clothes if that's what they need at that moment in time, food, and a safe place to be. And really, we are hearts with ears to listen to what they need to say. We don't tell them what to do. As I like to always say, we don't should on anybody. You don't should us. Yeah, we just listen and maybe hold up a mirror to reiterate to them what they just said that may sound pretty crazy. More importantly, we do the family work. So we bring the family to their own recovery walk and really teach them about codependency and being present in their own life, using a different language, and allowing everybody to walk their own road to recovery.
That's quite a story. You know, Linda, I have two questions or statements to talk to you about. One is, a couple of weeks ago, subsequent to our first meeting, reading in Newsday, okay, and the front page of Newsday, suicide homicide rates for older teens rose during the pandemic. What's your opinion on that statement?
Well, you know, when you shut down a country and you shut down communities, so we had children at home. They may have been living with domestic violence and alcoholism or substance use within their families, and their one and only saving grace was going to school, and that was taken away from them. But you cannot, humans are human beings to have an experience, to have connection. So children lost all of that. And they were living in really the fear. And they were also living in the world of social media where everything looks perfect except for their life.
And for a few years, they languished.
They did languish.
We just had no direction one way or another.
And I also think that if there was any kind of mental health that a child may have, it was just exacerbated that much more. We also legalized marijuana and that. And one of the biggest things really that's coming out now is for teenagers smoking cannabis. It's not pot anymore. It's cannabis with a THC level, could be anywhere from 50% and high. It's causing schizophrenia in young people at an alarming rate and exasperating mental health issues. So we've had experience with teenagers, and there's no help. There's no mental health system really set up to handle the level at which these children are, what they're dealing with.
And Linda, before we started the production today, we were talking terminology, and I kept saying committing suicide, and you said what the new buzzwords were.
The new language that they would like to hear is died by suicide. Yeah.
Is that a recent?
It's very recent, and just the language is so important. So when you call someone a junkie or a scumbag or any of those words, right, they already feel that way about themselves. So we don't use those words. Mm-hmm. Struggling with substance use, you're not clean or dirty. You're either sick or you're getting well. Okay. So it's language means a lot. My son was not dirty trying to get clean. He was sick trying to get well. He didn't have, your urine is, dirty. No, he had a positive, answer in his drug screening, or a negative.
Sure.
Language means a lot.
Wow, that's interesting. Well, Linda, your story, just like the first production, quite interesting, and I enjoy hearing it time and time again. I'd like to turn it over to our next guest, Tony Morrone. Tony, a little bit of background on Tony and Gary Carpenter. We've known each other over 20 years.
Well, over 20 years.
Maybe over 30 years. We grew up in the healthcare industry together and went through the challenges of healthcare. Okay, Tony migrates out of that. He retires, and he pursues his dream. And his dream is he's a noted author, okay, which he's going to talk towards. And he's the founder of a foundation, the Win Foundation in South Carolina, okay, which dovetails to a lot of what Linda is speaking about. Tony, why don't you talk a little bit about yourself?
Okay. Well, I write books. And after I write inspirational books or prayer books. Actually, you call them prayer books. And from this comes, sales. And I really wasn't quite comfortable, keeping the sales to myself. And I wanted to set up a not-for-profit. And I did set it up, and two things happened in my life about a year and a half ago. My cousin's son committed suicide, and my someone in the family has mental illness. So I decided I would set this organization up, this foundation, and I called it the Why in Heaven's Name, or the Win Foundation, which goes back to my first book, which is called Born Under a Lucky Star, which deals with characters that do not necessarily fit into the norm. And a lot of times, this is what happens with people that don't fall into the norm. They set themselves apart from society. So there's a lot of books out there that I have read, like Brene Brown, The Imperfections. And what happened is I started to write in these areas about perspective, how we look at things negatively, and also things like when you start saying, I need to, and you think that maybe if I replace I need to with I get to. I need to get to the supermarket. Makes a big difference when you say, I get to go to the supermarket. I have the ability to get in my car to go. So where it's not an errand anymore, it's a blessing. There's such a difference. That's what I write about, is perspective. How we approach a life with an attitude. Good attitude, good results. How many times do we get up in the morning and it's a negative? It's a rainy day. And how many times can we convert that rainy day into something positive? My grass is growing. My flowers, it's all perspective. And that's what I write about in my stories. So basically, that is why I have a foundation. And what I want to do is I want to support foundations like Linda's. In the beginning, I was going to come up with a program, and I was going to be the source of the program. There's no way I could, after speaking to you today, Linda, I want my foundation to raise money from the community, and all I want to do is hand it over. I'm the contractor, and you're my subcontractor. But in essence, it's just the opposite, that you're the contractor, and I want to be your subcontractor. I just want to make it known, if people see my work, that I represent things that you do and how you have done it. Your story is amazing.
Thank you.
In my opinion. You're an amazing woman to live through what you have lived through. And a lot of stuff that I write, a lot of the stuff that I write is about suffering. And through suffering, you heal. You can't heal without the suffering. And there's a lot of wise people that have taught that, and that's basically it.
And something what's interesting, Tony, a few years ago, you and I got together at the Millennium Diner, and we said, and you said, Harry, I want to take this idea and I want to move it to the next level. And we spent 2 years looking at a cultural arts center, developing a cultural arts center to take your vision and put it out to the people. After 2 years, we paused it, okay? And Tony migrated into digital, okay? And now it's on Amazon. But notice I said we paused it because we're coming out of pause. We're coming out of pause. We've talked about bringing not a cultural arts center, but an educational vehicle, okay, that encompasses what Linda does, what Tony does, and the books like this, okay, to the public. And Tony, I'm going to ask you, talk to me a bit about Rizzoli. Talk about Rizzoli.
It's kind of interesting how the universe works. That my niece, Tina, was in California, and she's an actress, and she's waiting tables and that. And she runs across this Fridun Rizzoli, who's a Persian painter, an international painter and also a writer. He's got 30, 40 books. Beautiful wisdom books, all about light and love, which is exactly what I write about. And Tina I met Rizzulli, and they would walk to the top of a mountain, and they would see the sunrise every morning or every other morning. So I wrote this years back, like 1995, and she shows him a copy of my book, my manuscript, and he reads it, and he loves it. And he painted a 30 by 40 portrait, a painting, and we called it Born Under the Lucky Star. And it's just an amazing thing with Rizzulli and I. And at that point, Rizzulli said to me, let's do some other work. But I didn't have the time. I was at the time I was a CPA. But a remarkable story. Tom, if you give me one of my copies of the Uninvited Guest, it's like yeah.
There are no coincidences, as they say.
So one night, I'm thinking about writing this new series of books. And I type it again. Rizzulli doesn't answer a phone, so I just said, I have an idea. I have an idea about a spiritual book. And so he sends me this painting that the next day. And then about a month ago, or 2 months ago, I'm on the phone with Rizzulli with my wife, Patricia. And he says, let me tell you a story about this painting. He says, one evening, he says, I always paint light, pictures of light. But one evening, I did the canvas, and I painted it black. He said, I never did this before. Never, ever painted the canvas black. And this is what I painted. He said, I have no idea why I painted this. And he doesn't exaggerate. I might exaggerate a lot. Rizzulli doesn't. So he says, I didn't know why I did it. And the next morning, I got a text from you asking for this picture. He says, I never have done another picture like this. Now, this picture is the Trinity. If you look close, it's the Father and the Son and the Holy Light.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm writing about the Holy Light.
Mm-hmm.
My story is it's kind of like the book The Shack, the movie The Shack, where God comes alive and kind of walks with us on earth. Well, that's what's happening with the Holy Light and the pandemic. So this is my story, and it's a trilogy of 3 different volumes that make up one story.
And it's just as a point of note is all of Tony's books are on Amazon. Okay, aren't they? Or this one's on Amazon.
I have 3 books on Amazon as of today. This book is coming on Amazon hopefully within a week or 2.
Okay.
And then I have the 2 other volumes that finish the story. And then I have another book. This is The Uninvited Guest. Mm-hmm. Then I have another series of 3 books called The Final Dowager, which is all the same story. It's kind of like a Harry Potter series that goes from one subject to another, but it's all related. It's all one story.
That's interesting, Tony. Well, thank you, Tony. What I'd like to do is now ask Kelly Lamson, who's the CEO and founder of Helping Hearts at Home, as I said before, based in Smithtown, okay, and say a few words.
Helping Hearts at Home started about in 2016 with the goal of helping seniors age in place in their homes. And our primary focuses were satisfaction and safety. I'm a registered nurse. I've worked with the elder population practically all my life. More years than I've lived. So I have a long history, and I've seen the changes in the field and the advancements that we have made with the senior population. I've worked in all the different types of facilities, and I have to say, at the end of the day, the best place is at home. If you can do it, if you could swing it, even if you could put a hospital room in your home, the best place is home. So that's what you're always going to hear me advocating for, is that when you're sick, you go home and staff come in and help you, and the equipment comes in and help you. That'll cut down on isolation, getting up in the middle of the night, everything, So the reason why I'm making these videos is because I wanted Helping Hearts at Home to be a theater of education in the community.
And you've done a great job on this, Kelly. I think to date, we have probably close to 10 videos covering all different modalities, from opioid to VA benefits to multiple sclerosis. We did a tremendous video with MS, with St. John Nursing Home, as well as their facility opened up. So clearly, to be a focus of education to community is what Helping Hearts at Home does also. But also, Kelly, your growth in Long Island clearly, is good. But talk to me about your expansion in Florida.
Well, I decided to expand it down in Florida during the pandemic. Really wasn't much to do up here, and I really can't sit still, so I decided to open up down by where my dad lives, and he lives in Jupiter. So I came up with a plan to open up an office at Palm Beach Gardens, and currently it just started a few months ago, and we've got a lot of inquiries, a lot of interest, a lot of people that are checking out the business. And
correct me if I'm wrong, weren't you interviewed by Fox News down there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you were interviewed by Fox as well as a local radio station.
107.9 Sunny.
Yeah. So you've got a lot of visibility in the Florida community, as well as, correct me if I'm wrong, you met with the MS Society down there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, again, to go in with what Kelly wanted to do was expand our touches into different area, as well as being...
And the Alzheimer's Association.
Your upcoming walk.
Yep,
Your sponsor.
Big sponsor for them.
In Florida. So it's quite good when I look at your facility. Yes, you are the biggest in Long Island as a companion care agency. And I think it's important for our viewers to understand that a companion care agency is a non-hands-on care. We provide the social model. We do everything in the house except really touching the patient and moving. That would make us more of a licensed agency, which we are not. We're a big commodity in the Long Island market, and I think through Kelly's efforts and developing these videos and the education and interacting with people like Linda and Tony, okay, we will continue to be as successful. What I always like to do, guys, on these videos is always end with final thoughts. Linda, final thought.
Tremendous work to do in the world, period, but tremendous work to do in Suffolk County regarding substance use, mental health issues, and really providing the right care, the continuum of care. We have more than enough treatment facilities in New York State, but if you go to treatment if you're lucky enough to get 30 days, to come out and not have a plan, not have vocation, not have any of those things, and told to go back to a homeless shelter, it's the same cycle. And the only people that really benefit are the for-profit treatment facilities. So you need to make, really those, the big changes for someone. They need housing. They need educational or vocational. Maybe they want to go to school, or maybe they need a job learning how to be a plumber or learning whatever they want, barber, something to become a supporting member of society eventually.
That's good. Tony, how about yourself? Final thoughts.
Right now it's quiet. In my professional, background, I did see fields. And I did see Phil's as the CPA, and it's great. But what you're talking about is the future.
Yeah.
What happens after? Same with you, Kel. Is whatever you said. I was one of the big CPA, reimbursement guys, and my whole life was in nursing homes. And you're absolutely right. The best place, the people that really had the money, the people that I knew that owned the nursing homes, when they needed nursing home care, they stayed home.
And I do believe Cuomo got his grandmother out of the nursing home just under the wire before they locked them down.
Yep. I'm just saying
This still is kind of me at home.
what these ladies are doing. I am so honored to be at the table with you ladies.
That's great. That's great.
I mean that.
Kelly, final thought.
Aging is inevitable. It's important that we start to embrace the positive changes and help clients with social isolation and continue to bring activities to them so that they could, with overall happiness being their goal. The opiate crisis touches the senior population in the fact that they're the highest demographic of people who are getting the prescriptions. They're, the main reason is for acute and chronic pain, and there are a lack of other modalities that they can engage in. So they're our biggest demographic, and although the United States has seen an increase in opioid prescriptions, they have taken account to it and they've started trying to reduce it. So things are going in a good direction with that.
That's only because the big pharma has to pay for all the damage that they did. So they will pull it back.
Absolutely, and that's sometimes that's what it takes. The state has to sue the pharma to get money to recover, and sometimes it's you can't do a criminal lawsuit, but you can do a civil, right?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was the suicide. Suicides with seniors happens also another thing that happens to be the highest demographic. Anybody over 85 and older tends to be at the most risk for suicide. And the main reason for that is loneliness. When it comes right down to it, they're lonely. They've gone through their life. They've hit all the challenges. They've done great things, and then the next part of their life, they start losing their friends and their family and their homes. Maybe they have to downsize. And when the driver's license goes, that's a big thing. So these things will keep them in home and away from other people a lot longer. It increases also signs of dementia and cognitive problems with them. And through the pandemic, I noticed, like when I was going in to see my seniors during it, they all were crying. I am so lonely. I'm so lonely. And that's the one thing that I wanted to bring out and impart to everybody. If you ever plan on doing a lockdown again, is that people do become lonely, and not everybody's home is a good place. And we have to be cognizant of that.
That's very strong. Very strong, Kelly. Well, like I always do, I want to thank our viewers for spending time to hear us all talking. Everybody's will be at the end of the video. You'll be able to get contact information relative to Linda, Tony, and Kelly, and as well as seeing our video library for those people who may be interested in doing it. Aside from that, see you next time we do a video.